Welcome to the Business Spotlight. I'm Gary Crosby. I'm delighted that today I'm here with Ian McIntosh, and I'm not going to tell you anything about Ian because I want him to do that himself. First of all, thanks very much, Ian, for agreeing to spend some time with us today.
No problem at all, Gary. Pleasure to be part of it.
Great. Let's start off with the easy question then. Just tell us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it, Ian.
Yeah, sure. My name is Ian McIntosh. I'm the owner of Motiq, formerly known as Macca Sports. We are custom teamwear and apparel specialists. We have, I guess, technically been a sports brand, independent sports brand anyway, for 4 years now. We've just not long rebranded to become Motiq, and we're basically trying to expand our product and our name into the global market. So lots of big plans coming, and hopefully some very good achievements as well.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing about the plans for sure. So let's just go back to the start of Motiq, and before that, the sports company. Am I right in thinking that you started purely with just football kits?
No, basically I started, I'd get made redundant from my last 2 jobs, and I decided, you know what, I don't want to do that role anymore.
Yep.
So I thought, what do I want to do? And it dawned on me I'd always wanted to own a football shop, boots, gloves, you name it, a lot. So what I did is I went, do you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm not getting any younger. Yep. This is what I'm going to do. So I basically opened up a football store based in Peterborough, which would have all the brands that you wouldn't necessarily see in any of the other sports shops. So we had some of the off the cuff kind of brands, as well as your Nikes as well. But it was just to bring in the different options. So that's where it started. Then people started to ask me if we could do teamwear, with the contracts that we had, we could do some teamwear. So I started doing that a little bit more and more. Then we kept getting approached by manufacturers and stuff like that. And it wasn't something I was overly keen to do at first. But then I reminisced back to when I was 8, 9 years old as a kid. All I used to do was draw and colour in football kits at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Aimlessly for hours on end, spend days and days and days. I've still got a folder now, luckily, that my mum kept, that is treasured possession in this office now. And I've even got kits on the wall from what I did when I was 7 years old. So I thought, you know what, let's start doing kits. So we started doing kits of our own. And then it got to the stage where we decided we were probably selling more kits and teamwear than we were football boots and gloves and stuff like that. So it slowly progressed towards that more than the football side of the boots and stuff. When it moved to that, we then started getting more and more, and we could produce more and more products ourselves, getting more manufacturers, better quality. Everything started to grow that end. So 4 years ago, coming into 5 years ago now, we decided, right, we're going to drop all the other brands. We're just going to be Macca Sports. There'll be no other brands, just us. And then basically carried it on from there, decided that's it. This is the goal now. This is what we're going forward with, and didn't look back again. So a bit of diversity in there, but it around the same lines of where we were going anyway. But yeah.
And I've been following you on LinkedIn and other social channels for a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years. One of the things that struck me at the beginning of all of that was that the designs were incredibly vibrant, incredibly colorful, completely different sort of standard football kits. And now you've seen that kind of migrate a little bit into the Premiership, where the designs and everything are changing a lot. Is that where football is going, do you think?
I think there's it's like any kind of fashion, black's in, blue's in, green's in, and then it goes out, flares, not flares.
Yeah.
It'll always have its place. And I think now that the modern football kit and design went from very outlandish, in the 90s, early 90s, to being a bit more modest and a bit more simplified. But now I feel that it's kind of having its own take again into being a bit more colourful and bright, as you said, with designs and patterns that are coming into it. So, you know, the bigger brands are probably taking a bit more note of what's happening in the custom teamwear world and realizing that, you know, we have to kind of target all audiences, although they may not care about the little guys, but they've certainly took note.
You know, the cynic in me would say that, of course, it's valuable for the football teams to change their shirts every year, but that's only at the professional level, isn't it?
You will find that, the professional level it's all about money, isn't it, in marketing? So any revenue they can bring in, you know, the old days, you'd have 2 kits released every 2 years, or maybe the home kit for 2 years, then the away kit would come out the year later.
Yeah.
But as soon as there was a big kind of calling for sales and in football teamwear, that's when it started to be every year. Then you'll find teams have got 2 kits, 3 kits. And even now, what you'll tend to find is their training pre-match shirts or pre-match training wear is changed nearly every other month. There'll be a new one every couple of months, or now, which I'm starting to notice there's a bit of a fashion or a trend going back to being retro. So a lot of them are releasing stuff that they maybe have released 20 years ago, but with the new clubs they're with now. So it's all about not just colours now. I think there's a high level of intrigue and debate of whether it is now becoming a fashion product, not just necessarily a performance product. And that does spread into grassroots to an extent. You'll have a lot of clubs that we deal with that may only have 1 kit and they won't replace it for 2 or 3 years because it will last 2 or 3 years. No problem. But you will also have teams that like to change it every year because they like a new design and they want something new every year. And that is becoming more popular down the lower levels as well.
So take me back to that moment. You said you were made redundant from your 2 last jobs, and you're now sitting there thinking to yourself, right, I need to do something. I'm thinking about setting up the football shop. If you could go back to that person and give them some advice based on what you've been doing for the last few years, what you've learned since you started in business, what would you be saying to the younger Ian at that point?
Younger me? Basically, you know, try not concentrate on the failures, because there has been many failures, many mistakes, many errors, because, you know, it was something that started as you know, as you said, a football shop, and it's progressed into other things. So be more open, just try and, you know, encourage the positives of everything that happened. The bad things will go away eventually. You know, you'll forget about them. You know, it may be next week, it might be next year, it might be 3-4 years, but you know, you'll learn to do that. The other thing I'd say is get help, and, you know, if you can, investment early in the progress rather than waiting until it's a bit later, because I think that could set you forward so far, you know, from where you will be. And also learning to kind of let go of some of the things that you're not in control of. I tried to do everything, whether it be sales, whether it be marketing, whether it be designing, whether it be distribution. I had to be involved in everything. And as you grow the business, you kind of learn you can't do it all yourself. And once you start to learn to trust other people to do that for you, the process is so much easier.
Those are really good lessons. Really, the first one in particular. I mean, do you have a particular, you know, technique or a tactic or a strategy that you use if something hasn't gone quite according to plan, and you realize that you're going to have to stop that and come up with something new? How do you cope with that?
Nowadays, I tend to just kind of take a step back, and then I process. Right, first things first. How do you fix it? What's the solution? You know, whether it's cost you money or it's hassle of having to deal with an irate customer. Either way, you know, figure out what the solution is first. Once you get the solution, it might not be the answer you want. It might not benefit everybody, but that's a solution. Then you can work your way backwards to resolving any issue. I think nothing is irresolvable to an extent. You know, sometimes damage can be done. It's inevitable. Human error will always be part of any business. But it's dealing with those setbacks and just taking it, like I say, taking it into account of what it is that you can do to fix any given situation, and how quickly you can fix any given situation is obviously a paramount. And then as soon as you can do that, it's easy to relate to a customer or a business, right? This is the solution. You may not like it, but it's the solution. And taking it from there.
Love that. I love that. And then that second point you made about letting go. I mean, in my client group of business owners, particularly that when they're small and they're starting to build a team, I would say that the number one thing that they've got to deal with more than anything is letting go. And there's always that sense that you go, somebody comes to you with a problem and you go, well, if I do this, it's going to be quicker, faster, cheaper, and I'll just take it and do it myself. How do you resist that urge and actually teach people to think for themselves? And
it is a tricky one to do, but what you have to do is you have to evolve it, and then you have to go and deal with whatever is. It's hard because it's like I say, it's your baby, it's your thing, and you always think you'll know best, and you will always put in the graft and the effort that maybe somebody else won't do. So you're quite happy. I'm up at 3 a.m. working sometimes, and doing work because I know I'll get it done, or it needs to be done, so I'll do it. But you then kind of learn to say, right, well, actually, no, I'm paying them to do it. That's their job. It needs to be done. The sooner you can kind of get that mindset into it, not in an aggressive manner, like that's their job, they must do it. It's a case of, that's what I pay them for. They're experts at what they're doing. Let them do it. And that is quite difficult to let go of. But as soon as you start to let one happen, then the other one is easier than the other one. And then before you know it, it's like, that's not my problem. You deal with it.
Brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. I mean, that is once you've done it once, it becomes easier. I think that's a great tip. And I guess you must have made the transition then from being somebody where it was just you in the business. And I think the first time we ever spoke, the team was expanding quite a lot. I don't know how big it is now, but how have you adapted to being the leader of the team rather than the person who does everything?
Do you know what? I've quite enjoyed it to an extent. It can be tricky to, as I said, still let go of certain things, or you see things and you're like, I could have done slightly better there. But you have to put your trust in them, and you have to encourage them, and guide is the best way to do it. Sometimes training, sometimes it's just a little chat, or you'll never have, my mind's all over the place at times. I'm already thinking 2 years ahead of where I am. Even if I've got a product, I'm already thinking, right, what's the next 2 versions of that before I've even got that one out the door. So you can't always put that in somebody else's lap because they may not think that way. You can't have 2 people thinking the same. So it's all about trust, I guess. You've got to just trust them, and and the same thing, if they make mistakes, they learn from it. It's hard to do it, but as I said earlier, as soon as you do it, it becomes easier and easier, and you'll actually find that you get more done. And building a bigger team has been trickier because it's obviously when there's 1 or 2 of you, you can just shout across the room, "Oh, why haven't you done that?" Or "Why don't you do this?" Now we're in different rooms and different places. I can sit in my office and not see half of them half the day, which is nice. But it's one of those things. It's like I said, getting to be in charge of more and more people is trickier. But then again, I've passed on some of the responsibility to other people to take care of the other people. So it's starting to build its way up the core.
And one of the things that sometimes I do with slightly smaller customers, clients of mine, is we talk about having a vision for the company, and this idea that it's really important to show people where the company is going. From that perspective, you're an expert at this. I've seen you put your vision out there a number of times. How do you convey your vision to the team?
They know how wild and ambitious I am. So there's a good point as well, being determined and being, what's the best way to describe how to pass it across? They know what I want, and they've clearly stated all the things from day one. This is what I want to be. This is who we want to compete against. We're not gonna match Nike or Adidas now. They're too big and too global. But you want to give them a run for their money in as many areas as you can. You don't want to be sitting still, and you don't want to just be accepting that, oh, we're just another little tin pod brand. That's not my goal. That's not my ambition. And hopefully that comes across to everybody as well, that we will become, a huge global sports brand at some point. And with that, it brings in other people who then start to see and believe in what we're all about. We've got people here now that works for the company that I wouldn't have imagined would be working for Motiq or Mac Sports 2 years ago.
Yeah. I know what you mean. So thinking about that then, forever expanding, forever growing, forever adding new ideas and new lines, where do you want to take Motiq over the next few years?
We've already got plans of what we want to achieve, what we want to do at this point. Obviously, I want the football side of things to become a well-known, brand across the globe. And we want to start hitting professional clubs between this year and next year. So we've already got that plan in place. So there's lots of things going on in the background that will help achieve that. Then we'll also be launching golf this year, probably to the back end of this year, falling more onto next year as our main launch. Which is leap bound, ahead of where we were, as a product as well. With that, getting to the manufacturing, some of the manufacturers we've got now on board who are also really believe in Motiq, and the vision is again, 2 years ago, if I said I'll be working with these sort of companies, no chance. We're working with companies that are doing designer labels, for some of the biggest brands in the world, very high-end fashion labels that, have bought into the vision that I've given them. And they normally don't talk to companies our size. So we'll wrangle our way in. That's the best way of putting it.
But it's another great lesson, Ian. It's another great lesson for people who are running small businesses who sometimes they hold themselves back.
Yeah. You can definitely. It's like I said, our next step of opening up in the US, and then we've got ambitions of opening up in Dubai.
Right.
So these will be huge steps forward. And they're not going to be small steps either. That's the goal in our intent to show that this is what we're all about and this is what we're going to achieve.
Yeah. What obstacles do you think could possibly stand in the way of that vision that you've got for the company?
To be truthful with you, I think everything's starting to fall into place. At this moment, I don't see many obstacles other than just getting your foot in the door with a lot of clubs and getting, stateside and getting that name known out there. But the people that are in the company now and are going to be announced in the next month or the next couple of weeks will make a huge impact in that, a massive impact.
Brilliant. Then that, you never know what the marketplace will throw at you, but there's clearly a high degree of confidence there. We're
small enough to be able to diverse wherever we want. We can aggressively go after any market at any given time, and we can switch at any given time as well. We have the maneuverability to change a polo shirt or a t-shirt, a very strange color or anything overnight, without it being too much trouble. Whereas the bigger brands like Nike or Adidas can't really move that quickly because it's got to go through so many departments. We have that advantage where we can move quicker, we can adapt, and we're quite progressive in I think the products that we're bringing out and the designs. The guy that designed them was brilliant. but that's part and parcel of it. I think a lot of having an idea of what could be a product. You know, I won't look at one single product and think, oh, that's just that. I will look at it and think, what can it be, or what other things can we add to it to make it maybe even something completely different.
Let's talk about the man who does the designing then, because I'm thinking about, can you see the difference in yourself between where you started off, where you are now, and maybe what you'll need to be yourself to be the owner of a global sportswear brand?
Oh yeah, there's a where we were as Mac Sports when we first started, the teamwear and stuff that we did was good. It was good. That's it. That's as exciting as I'd put it. It was good. It will do. It was good enough. But I was always right. We need to try and get better. But we were never big enough to be into some of these bigger manufacturers who could provide better or give us better pricing or would make the quantities we needed, being such a small company. And such a small brand. You know, we couldn't go to the ones that we're going to now and say, no, we want 20 of those or 10 of those. They just laugh us out the door, you know. But the more I progressed, the more I realized that, that's what we're going to go for, and that's what it will become. So I just kept persisting and changing products and finding fabrics. So you learn to grow not only your resilience, but your understanding of products more as well. And going into the future, I definitely know that there's a lot more I have to learn once we get to the much larger levels and deal with much larger manufacturers, than small independent ones. We're going to go to ones that may have 10 factories that all do different things. Interesting.
I'm just again thinking back through your LinkedIn feed and seeing this story of this ever increasing and emerging brand. I just want to ask you about the company itself in terms of whether or not there's anything you want to share with our community. I mean, I could talk to you for hours, but we are a little bit time limited. Is there anything coming up or anything that you want the community to know so they understand where Motiq is going?
Yeah. I think the next 2 weeks there'll be another announcement of someone else coming into the company that's
brilliant,
huge for Motiq, and it should have a wow factor, hopefully.
Right.
And it'll be something that I've been persisting for a long time to happen. So we've got that coming up.
Wow.
With that, we're hopefully going to be, still expanding the product ranges on the sportswear. We're going to be releasing some new products for football as well to bring us up to that kind of elite level as we said. Then again, as I said, the golf is going to be something that people will be quite surprised by. I think, they'll maybe think, oh, it's only little Motiq in that, but I think once they see the products, once you actually have the products, they'll soon realize that actually these guys are serious. They're in this for the the right reasons, and we're gonna compete. We will turn a few heads.
That's great. I mean, if you want anyone to be part of the testing community, I'm up for that. I'll be
no problem at all.
I'm a fair weather golfer, so I'll be starting to play again soon. But I remember we did chat very briefly about it probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it seemed to me with all your design knowledge and experience that golf would be a place where you could have a massive impact. So
yeah, it's a good place to start a new range because it's quite settled and the products are more or less kind of restricted to a certain amount of products, but it's what you do with those that I think we will surprise people, and they'll be interested to see what we've done to make it different.
Yeah, brilliant, Ian. What a great story, and some great lessons there about dealing with failures and letting go when you're growing your team. I think the people who watch this will appreciate that, straight from the horse's mouth about what it takes to run a company. I'm absolutely delighted we got the chance to chat, and I'm really grateful for you taking part in the business spotlight.
No problem at all. Glad to be part of it.